Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to do an investigation on investigating densities. Now densities, the density is essentially the mass of an object compared to relative to its size. So for these two, they're more or less the same size, but this one is heavier. So what we're going to learn about today is looking at the densities of these two and investigating them. So in order to do this, the first thing that we're going to need is a balance. We're going to need some materials. We're going to need a measuring cylinder, of course your goggles, and we're also going to need something called a displacement can. Okay, so to start off with, I'm going to put my goggles on to start off with. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take one of our materials, we're going to take it to the balance, and we're going to weigh how much it is. So according to this here, this is 39.7 grams. So the mass of this wooden block here is 39.7 grams. Once you've taken the mass, okay, you'll need to make sure you fill in your book here on page 104, you'll need to write down the name of the material, which in this case is wooden block, its mass, which is 39.7 grams. And now what we're going to do is work out its volume. And the way in which we work out the volume is quite simple really. Okay, the first thing you do is you take your displacement can. Okay, so your displacement can, you'll have to take to the sink and you'll have to add water to it. We're going to fill it with water until no more water comes out of this little spout here. I've placed this bowl here just to make sure if there's any spillages, they fall in there. And so we're just going to wait a few moments while the water settles, okay, just to make sure that the water level is about the same height as the spout level. Okay, so I'll give that a few more moments and then we can do our experiment. So I'm quite happy that is more or less stopped. You may wish to take another minute or so just to make sure. As the water's moving around inside, a few drops are coming out, but that doesn't really matter as long as the water isn't gushing out or it's not too far below the spout, because that really will affect your data. Okay, we're going to take our wooden block, which we just took the mass off, 39.7 grams. We've recorded it in our book and we've written down the fact that the material is a wooden block. I will now need to use a measuring cylinder to find out how much water is displaced when I place this wooden block, this object, into the displacement can. So I'm going to keep that bowl there just in case I have a spillage. I'm going to take a measuring cylinder, okay, and I'm going to place this here for now, and you'll probably need someone to help you out to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place this into the water and I'm going to try and find out how much water is displaced, moved from inside the can into the measuring cylinder, and by doing that I'll find out what the volume of this block actually is. Now some blocks will float and some blocks will sink. If the block sinks, then it's quite easy. The water will naturally be displaced through there and into this measuring cylinder here. If the block floats, and some things do float, for example wood, okay, if the block does float, then what we have to do is we have to just press down on the surface of the block so that it's underneath the water, but making sure we're not putting our whole hand into the water, because then you're also measuring the volume of your hand and the block as well. So let me show you how you can do this. Okay, just going to move that out of the way if I can get there. I'm going to place the measuring cylinder underneath the spout. Remember, it's a spout. I'm going to just place the block gently into it, and you can see as soon as I put it in, water starts to pour out. But you'll also notice that not all of the block is under the water. This means I am not measuring all of the volume of the block. So very, very gently, what I'm going to do is place this just very, very gently underneath the water. And as you can see, I'm trying not to get my whole hand in there. If you look down there, try and keep that there. Try and keep your hand steady until you're sure that no more water is going to come out. This could take a few moments. There we go. And what you could do is, as I said, just keep lowering it down to there. You know where the water's going to drop. So if you weren't sure, you could now say, put it back in just to make sure. And I can see really, I have, quite happily I would say, I've got the volume of the water there now. So wait until it stops, which is about now. And I can see here, if I look really, really closely, okay, that this here is approximately 64 millilitres. The volume of the water that was displaced by this wooden cube was 64 millilitres. Now that I've done that, like any good scientist, what I'm going to do is record 64 millilitres into my table here, underneath where it says volume. Once you've got your data, at the end the teacher will show you how to calculate the density, but it is quite clear on page 104. You quite simply divide the mass, which you took at the start, from the balance, and you divide that by the volume, which you've just got from your measuring cylinder. By doing that, you've now worked out your density. You're going to do this with a few objects, for example, some aluminium, and wherever materials your teacher has provided you with. Okay? Hope that helps. Good luck.